The great assembly hall floated in space like a giant glass bubble. Inside, creatures from 200 different worlds sat in curved rows that went up and up until they almost touched the ceiling. Some had scales, some had fur, and some looked like living rocks. All of them were angry. Ambassador Hyun-Woo Lee stood in the center of the hall. He was a tall man with gray hair and calm eyes. His dark blue uniform had small gold stars on the shoulders. Around him, alien voices grew louder and louder. The sounds came through speakers that changed their words into human language. "The humans are cowards," shouted a being that looked like a giant snake. Its voice hissed and popped. "They run from every fight." "They fear battle," cried another creature with too many arms. "When we need warriors, they send lawyers." Hyun-Woo did not move. His hands stayed behind his back. His face showed nothing. Behind him, other humans sat in a small section marked with Earth's flag. Admiral Bo-Ram Kim sat straight in her white uniform. Her short black hair was perfect, but her dark eyes burned with anger. She wanted to stand up and shout back at the aliens, but she stayed in her seat. Next to her, Dr. Tae-ho Park wrote notes on a small computer. He was young for a scientist, maybe 30 years old. His job was to study alien life, but today he was studying alien anger. Every time a new creature spoke against humans, he wrote it down. At the front of the hall, a tall crystal being stood up. Light moved inside his body like colored water. This was Kethran, the prime speaker. His people had ruled parts of the galaxy for thousands of years. When he spoke, his voice rang like music, but the words were sharp. "Fellow members of the council," Kethran said, "we meet today because of a serious problem. The newest members of our council refused to do their duty." More angry sounds filled the hall. Creatures with wings flapped them hard. Things that looked like giant bugs clicked their mouthparts together. It sounded like breaking sticks. Kethran raised one crystal arm. The noise stopped. "3 times in the past year we have asked humans for military help. 3 times they have said no. They speak of peace and talking when action is needed." A creature that looked like a walking tree creaked as it moved. "The Rigel sector needed peacekeepers," it said in a voice like wind through leaves. "Humans pulled their ships away. Pirates still attacked trade routes because of their weakness. The Vega system called for help against raiders," added a being covered in blue fur. "Humans sent diplomats instead of soldiers. Many died while humans talked." Hyun-Woo listened to each complaint. His face did not change. In the human section, Captain Min-Soo Choi shifted in his seat. He was the youngest ship commander Earth had ever sent to the council. His fingers drummed on his knee. He had fought pirates before. The aliens did not know the real story. Dr. So-Young Kang sat next to Captain Choi. She was Earth's top expert on history. Her job was to remember everything humans had learned about war. She knew facts that would make these aliens very quiet, but today was not the time to share them. Kethran's crystal body glowed brighter. "The evidence is clear. Humans fear war. They are weak. They cannot help us keep peace in the galaxy because they are afraid to fight." The hall exploded with agreement. Creatures roared, hissed, clicked, and buzzed. Some stood up and waved arms or tentacles. Others slammed body parts on their seats. The sound was so loud that the speakers could not keep up with all the different languages. "Afraid," shouted the snake-like being. "Humans shake when they hear about battle." "Weak," cried the many-armed creature. "They cannot even protect their own worlds." "Useless," added something that looked like a floating jellyfish. "Why did we let them join the council?" Admiral Bo-Ram Kim's hands became fists. Her jaw was tight. She had commanded warships for 20 years. She had seen things these aliens could not imagine. But she was a soldier, and soldiers followed orders. The order today was to stay quiet and let Ambassador Lee handle this. Dr. Tae-ho Park stopped writing. He looked around the hall and saw something interesting. The angriest creatures were the ones who had never really fought a war. The few species that had survived real battles sat quietly. They watched Hyun-Woo with careful eyes. Kethran waited for the noise to die down. When it did, he spoke again. "Humans joined our council 2 years ago. In that time, they have avoided every conflict. They refuse to send soldiers when planets are attacked. They will not help stop criminals. They choose talk over action every single time. A creature made of what looked like living metal clanged as it stood. My people have fought for our territory for centuries. We know strength when we see it. Humans have no strength. They run from danger, agreed a being with 6 legs and purple skin. When others fight, humans hide. Hyun-woo still had not moved. He stood like a statue in the center of all this anger. His calm was strange. Most beings would be upset or afraid when so many others shouted at them. But Hyun-woo looked like he was waiting for something. In the human section, Colonel Yoon-ji, Lee watched her brother carefully. She ran Earth's most secret military unit. She knew Hyun-woo better than anyone else in the hall. When he got this quiet, this still, it usually meant someone was about to learn something they did not want to know. The accusations went on and on. Each species shared stories of human weakness. They talked about times when humans chose peace, talks instead of bombing. They complained about human soldiers who tried to save enemy lives. They were angry that humans did not kill enough. Admiral Sang-wook-yu sat in the back row of the human section. He was older than the others, with white hair and scars on his hands. He commanded all of Earth's defense forces. He had seen the secret reports that these aliens would never read. If they knew what humans really did in the dark spaces between stars, they would not be calling humans weak. After an hour of complaints, Kethran stood again. His crystal body was now very bright. The evidence speaks for itself. Humans are not worthy partners in keeping galactic peace. They are too weak, too afraid, too soft to be trusted with important duties. The hall filled with agreement again. Creatures nodded, bobbed, swayed, and made whatever movements their species used to say yes. Some started talking about removing humans from the council completely. Through all of this, Hyun-woo Lee had not said one word. He had not moved except to breathe. But now, as the voices grew loud again, he tilted his head slightly. It was a small movement, but somehow it made the entire hall begin to quiet down. When the silence was complete, Hyun-woo finally spoke. His voice was not loud, but it carried to every corner of the hall. The words were simple and calm, but they made several aliens step backward. "Distinguished delegates," he said, "you mistake our restraint for fear. Perhaps it is time you understood why humanity truly avoids war." The temperature in the hall seemed to drop. Even the crystal beings stopped, glowing quite so brightly. The silence in the hall was complete. Ambassador Hyun-woo Lee reached into his jacket and pulled out a small silver device. He pressed a button, and the air above the center of the hall began to glow. Slowly, a picture formed in the light. It was a blue and green world with white clouds. "This is Earth," Hyun-woo said. His voice was still calm, but now every creature in the hall listened. "Our home. You say we fear war because we choose peace. Let me show you why that choice means something." The picture of Earth grew larger. Then it changed, showing the surface of the world. Green forests, blue oceans, and brown mountains appeared. But then the picture changed again and the beauty was gone. Now the aliens saw a battlefield. Men in metal armor rode horses and swung swords at each other. Blood flew through the air. Horses screamed and fell. Bodies covered the ground like a red carpet. Some of the aliens made surprised sounds. The jellyfish creature floated backward. The tree-like being's leaves rustled with worry. "This was Tuesday afternoon for humans," Hyun-woo said. "For 5,000 years we have been at war with ourselves. Every day, somewhere on Earth, humans killed other humans." The picture changed again. Now it showed men with guns hiding in muddy holes. They shot at other men hiding in different muddy holes. The ground between them was covered with dead bodies and broken wire. "We did not learn to fight from other species," Hyun-woo continued. "We learned by fighting each other. We got very good at it." Captain Min-soo Choi watched the alien faces. Many of them had never seen real war. Their species had either been peaceful from the start, or they had been conquered so quickly that they never learned to fight back. The idea of beings fighting their own kind for thousands of years was new to them. The crystal being, Kethran, tried to speak. Primitive violence means nothing now. We have energy weapons and force shields. Your ancient battles are not ancient, Hyunwoo interrupted. The pictures I am showing you are ancient. The knowledge we learned from them is not. The hologram changed again. Now it showed ships on an ocean firing metal balls at each other. Wooden ships exploded and sank. Men jumped into the water as their vessels burned around them. We learned that war is not about being brave, Hyunwoo said. It is about making the other side stop fighting. Forever. Dr. So Young Kang had helped prepare this presentation. She knew every image that would appear. She also knew that Hyunwoo was being gentle. The real history of human warfare was much worse than what he was showing. The picture changed to show men in gray and blue uniforms, shooting at each other across open fields. Cannons fired metal balls that tore through lines of soldiers. Horses pulled wagons full of wounded men who cried and screamed. Your species fight until one side gives up, Hyunwoo explained. Humans learn to fight until one side cannot give up, because they are all dead. A creature that looked like a giant butterfly began to shake. Its colorful wings folded tight against its body. Surely your species evolved past such barbarity? Hyunwoo asked. Yes, we did. Eventually. The hologram shifted to show something that made half the aliens in the hall step backward. Huge metal machines rolled across broken ground. They had tracks instead of wheels and long tubes. That Spitfire. Behind them, men with rifles ran toward other men with rifles. The noise of guns was so constant it sounded like rain on metal. We learned to kill each other with machines, Hyunwoo said. We got very efficient at it. Admiral Boram Kim remembered her first day at the military academy. The instructors had shown similar pictures to new students. This is why we exist, they had said, to make sure this never happens again. The images kept changing. Now they showed flying machines dropping bombs on cities. Buildings exploded and fell down. People ran through streets while fire fell from the sky like deadly snow. Millions died in our wars, Hyunwoo said. Not thousands, not hundreds of thousands, millions. We killed so many of our own kind that we had to invent new words for the numbers. The purple-skinned creature with 6 legs was very quiet now. How did your species survive? By getting better at war than anything else, Hyunwoo answered. We learned that if you want peace, you have to be more frightening than anyone who might threaten that peace. The hologram changed again, and this time several aliens actually screamed. The picture showed a bright light, brighter than a sun. When it faded, there was a cloud that looked like a giant mushroom made of fire and smoke. Below it, a city was gone, just gone. Nothing was left but melted stone and ash. This, Hyunwoo said very quietly, was when we learned to kill entire cities at once. The snake-like creature that had been so angry before was now coiled tight in its seat. Its voice was much smaller when it spoke. You destroyed your own cities. Twice, Hyunwoo said, to end a war that might have killed even more people. We decided that some choices are so terrible that you only make them once. Dr. Tae-ho Park watched the alien reactions carefully. These creatures had never imagined warfare like this. Most of their conflicts were about territory or resources. They fought until one side had what they wanted, then they stopped. The idea of fighting until the enemy was completely destroyed was alien to them. The hologram changed one more time. Now it showed Earth as it looked today, green and blue and beautiful. Cities sparkled like stars. Ships moved peacefully through space around the planet. For 70 years there has been no war on Earth, Hyunwoo said. Not because we forgot how to fight, because we remembered too well what fighting means. Colonel Yoonji Lee knew this was only part of the truth. There had been no wars on Earth, but humans had not stopped fighting. They had just gotten much better at choosing their battles. The aliens did not need to know about the secret operations, the quiet eliminations, the problems that were solved before they became wars. Catherine's crystal body was much dimmer now. You speak of ancient history. Modern warfare is different. Civilized. Hyunwoo looked directly at the crystal being. You think your wars are civilized because you have never fought humans. You fight each other like children playing games. You have rules, you take prisoners, you negotiate. You stop when you get bored. The hall was so quiet that the hum of the air system sounded loud. Humans do not have civilized wars, Hyunwoo continued. When we fight to make sure we never have to fight that enemy again. Ever. Admiral Sang-wook-yu remembered the classified briefings he gave to new officers. The hardest part was explaining why Earth's military was so different from other species' forces. Other aliens built armies to win battles. Humans built armies to end wars permanently. The floating jellyfish creature spoke in a voice like whispers. What do you mean? Hyunwoo was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his words were like ice. We don't fight wars to win territory or resources. We fight to ensure the threat never existed in the first place. The hologram faded away, leaving the hall in normal light. But somehow, the light seemed colder than before. You called us weak because we avoid your conflicts, Hyunwoo said. You said we fear war. You are wrong on both counts. We do not fear war. We fear what we become when we wage it. Captain Min-soo Choi felt a chill run down his back. He had served in the Deep Space Patrol. He had seen what happened to pirates who attacked human ships. The aliens were right about one thing. Humans did avoid war, but not because they were afraid of losing. Perhaps, Hyunwoo said, it is time you understood exactly what human restraint has been protecting you from. The temperature in the Great Hall seemed to drop another 10 degrees. Ambassador Hyunwoo Lee stood perfectly still in the center of the chamber, but something had changed in his posture. The aliens could feel it, even if they could not name it. Catherine, the crystal being, tried to regain control of the situation. His body flickered with nervous energy. You show us primitive violence from your past. This means nothing in modern times. Your species lacks the courage for real warfare. Commander Jamin Park sat in the human section with 3 long scars running down the left side of his face. He had gotten those scars in what the official reports called a peaceful exploration mission. The aliens had no idea how many peaceful missions ended with human soldiers bleeding in the dark. Hyunwoo's expression did not change, but his voice carried a new edge. You misunderstand the nature of our restraint. Allow me to provide recent examples. He pressed another button on his silver device. The hologram reappeared, but this time it showed something different. The date stamp in the corner read less than 6 months ago. Admiral Bo-ram Kim straightened in her seat. She recognized the footage immediately. This was classified material from the deepest levels of Earth's military archives. Someone very high up had decided the galaxy needed to see the truth. The first image showed a human exploration ship. It was small and white, with peaceful markings on its hull. The name New Dawn was painted on the side in blue letters. It looked harmless, like a research vessel or cargo transport. The Devaki incident, Hyunwoo said simply. 6 months ago, 32 human scientists and crew members on a mineral survey mission. The hologram shifted to show the same ship, but now it was damaged. Burn marks covered its hull. Parts of it were missing completely. Around it, moving like predators, were 12 larger ships with weapons powered up. Pirates, Hyunwoo explained. The Kralek Syndicate. They had been attacking ships in this region for 3 years. Over 400 beings had died in their raids. The galactic authorities called it an ongoing security concern. Several aliens shifted uncomfortably. The Kralek's pirates were known to everyone. They were brutal but not particularly dangerous to major civilizations. Most species just avoided their territory. The hologram showed the pirates boarding the human ship. Armed figures in environmental suits forced their way through airlocks. The humans inside had no weapons, no military training, no way to fight back. The pirates demanded ransom, Hyunwoo continued. 50 million credits and safe passage, standard procedure for the Kralek Syndicate. They had done this hundreds of times before. Captain Min-soo Choi had read the full report on this incident. The part the galaxy was about to see was not the part that appeared in any official records. The pirates had control of the ship for exactly 14 minutes. Then something changed. The hologram showed what happened next, and several aliens gasped. The pirates who had been confident and aggressive suddenly began to panic. Their communications were filled with screaming. One by one, their boarding party stopped responding. The human crew, the snake-like alien said slowly, "They fought back?" "No," Hyunwoo replied. The human crew was rescued. The picture changed to show the outside of the ship again, but now there were other vessels nearby, small dark shapes that seemed to appear from nowhere. They moved like shadows between the pirate ships. "Earth Defense Force, Deep Range Patrol," Hyunwoo said. They had been tracking the pirates for 6 days. What followed was not a battle, it was an execution. The human ships did not demand surrender. They did not try to disable the pirate vessels. They did not attempt to negotiate. They simply opened fire with weapons that cut through the pirate shields like paper through smoke. One by one, the pirate ships exploded. Bright flashes lit up the darkness of space. In less than 5 minutes, 11 ships were gone. Only debris remained. The 12th ship tried to run. The hologram tracked its desperate flight as it jumped to faster-than-light speed. The human ships did not follow immediately. The last pirate ship escaped, the tree-like being observed. "No," Hyunwoo said quietly. It did not. The hologram shifted to show a different location 3 days later. The escaping pirate ship hung, dead in space, all its systems dark. Around it, 3 human vessels waited like patient hunters. "We followed it," Hyunwoo explained. "Back to its base, back to its supply depot, back to its command structure." The next images were harder to watch. The hologram showed the systematic destruction of an entire pirate organization. Not just the ships, but the stations, the supply lines, the recruitment centers, even the banks where they kept their stolen money. Dr. Young-Sik Han, Earth's military psychologist, watched the alien reactions carefully. Their faces showed confusion, then understanding, then fear. They were beginning to grasp what human military doctrine really meant. "In 72 hours, Hyunwoo said, the Kralek Syndicate ceased to exist. All ships destroyed. All bases eliminated. All personnel accounted for." The purple-skinned creature with 6 legs made a strangled sound. "All personnel accounted for?" "There are no more Kralek's pirates," Hyunwoo replied simply. The hologram changed again, showing a different incident. This time it was a human research station orbiting a distant planet. The date stamp was even more recent. "The Kepler crisis," Hyunwoo announced. 3 weeks ago. This footage showed slavers attacking the research station. They were professionals, well-equipped and organized. They captured the station quickly and took 47 human researchers as prisoners. "The Yith Consortium," Admiral Boram Kim thought to herself. "They specialized in kidnapping intelligent species and selling them to collectors. Very profitable, very careful, very dead now." The slavers had made one critical mistake. They had assumed that humans were like other species, that they would negotiate, pay ransom, and accept the loss as a cost of doing business. The rescue operation began 6 hours after the capture. The hologram showed sleek black ships approaching the slaver vessels. They moved without running lights, almost invisible against the stars. What followed was not a rescue. It was a demonstration of what human special forces could do when their people were threatened. The aliens watched in growing horror as human soldiers moved through the slaver ships like ghosts. No alarms were triggered. No weapons were fired by the defenders. One by one, the slavers simply stopped moving. The entire operation took 14 minutes from start to finish. All 47 human researchers were recovered alive and unharmed. All 63 slavers were found dead at their posts. "How?" whispered the jellyfish creature. "Training," Hyunwoo answered. "Humans have been practicing war for 5,000 years. We are very good at it." But the hologram was not finished. It showed the aftermath of the rescue, human ships tracking down every member of the Yith Consortium across 4 star systems. Supply ships, command vessels, hidden bases, even the buyers who had placed orders for human slaves. The entire organization was eliminated, Hyunwoo said. It took 2 weeks. There are no more slave traders in that sector of space. General Hunyang Kwok sat in the back row of the human section. He had authorized both operations. The decisions had been easy to make. Touch human civilians and you do not get to exist anymore. Simple. The hologram shifted one final time, showing the most recent incident. This one was only 2 weeks old. The Proxima defense, Hyunwoo said, and now his voice carried real ice. The footage showed an alien fleet attacking human colonies near Proxima Centauri. 57 ships, well-armed and aggressive. An unknown species that had decided humans looked weak enough to rob. The human colonists had sent out distress calls. They were farmers, miners, and terraforming engineers. They had no weapons except mining equipment and construction tools. The attack fleet moved in confidently. They had done this before to other species. Demand tribute. Take what they wanted. Leave the rest as a warning to others. They had 6 hours of confidence. Then the human fleet arrived. The aliens in the council chamber watched 57 warships die in less than 20 minutes. The human response was overwhelming, precise, and absolutely merciless. Energy weapons that punched through shields like they were not there. Missiles that turned entire ships into expanding clouds of gas. Fighters that moved too fast to track. But that was not the worst part. The worst part was what happened after. The battle was over. The hologram showed human ships tracking the attackers back to their home system. Not for negotiations, not for demands. For extermination. We followed them home. Hyunwoo said quietly. We sterilized their military infrastructure across 3 star systems. Every shipyard, every weapon factory, every training facility, every military base. The temperature in the hall felt like it had dropped to near freezing. How many died? Kethran asked, his crystal body now completely dim. All of them, Hyunwoo replied. Every military member of their species. Their civilians were relocated to other worlds. Their government was disbanded. Their territory was declared a neutral zone under human protection. The silence stretched for long minutes. This is what human restraint protects you from, Hyunwoo said finally. We do not fight to win. We fight to make sure we never have to fight the same enemy twice. The Great Hall was so quiet that the sound of breathing seemed loud. 200 different species sat frozen in their seats, trying to understand what they had just witnessed. The holographic displays had faded, but the images remained burned into their minds. Kethran, the crystal being who had started this confrontation, flickered weakly. His voice when he finally spoke was barely above a whisper. You show us propaganda. Surely these recordings are enhanced. Ambassador Hyunwoo Lee did not even blink. Computer, verify authentication codes for all displayed materials. The Council's own artificial intelligence, built by 12 different species and considered impossible to fool, processed the request. Its mechanical voice filled the chamber. All materials verified as authentic. No alteration detected. Confidence level, absolute. A wave of trembling passed through the alien delegates like wind through tall grass. The tree-like being's leaves rustled with distress. The jellyfish creature had folded its translucent body into the smallest possible shape. General Hunyang Kwok stood up slowly in the human section. He was an old man with white hair and hands marked by old scars. When he moved, every alien eye tracked him with the attention usually reserved for dangerous predators. If I may provide context, the general said politely. His voice was soft, grandfatherly almost, but something about it made the snake-like alien coil tighter in its seat. This was the voice of a being who had made life-and-death decisions so many times that they had become routine. The hologram reappeared, but this time it showed charts and diagrams instead of battle footage. Strategic analyses filled the air above the chamber floor, colors and numbers and tactical symbols that most of the aliens could not read. Your species engage in what we classify as Type 1 conflict, General Kwok explained calmly. Territorial disputes, resource acquisition, dominance displays. You fight until submission is achieved or resources are secured. The display showed typical alien warfare, formal fleet movements, organized battles with clear objectives, negotiated surrenders when one side had clearly lost, rules about prisoners and civilians, agreements about what targets were acceptable. It looked almost ceremonial compared to what they had just seen humans do. Clean warfare, the general continued. Predictable patterns, limited objectives. You fight like you are playing a game with rules that everyone agrees to follow. Combat engineer Nari Zhang watched from her seat as the alien delegates began to understand the fundamental difference. She had designed the weapon systems that had destroyed those pirate ships. The aliens thought in terms of disabling enemy vessels. Her weapons were designed to make them cease to exist entirely. Humans evolved beyond Type 1 conflict approximately 2,000 years ago, General Kwok said. We developed what our strategists call Type 3 warfare. The holographic display shifted, showing theoretical battle plans that made several aliens lean back in their seats. These were not plans to win territory or capture resources. These were plans to eliminate enemy civilizations completely. Type 3 warfare has one objective, the general explained. Total destruction of the enemy's ability to threaten you. Not defeat, not submission, elimination. Strategic analyst Du Hyun-bae had created these theoretical scenarios during his graduate studies. They were mathematical models of what would happen if humanity fought a war the way they had learned to fight on Earth. The projections were so devastating that they had been classified immediately. The display showed what a human war against the Galactic Council would look like. Not conquest, annihilation. Human fleets would not capture alien worlds. They would sterilize them. They would not negotiate with alien governments. They would erase them. They would not take prisoners. There would be no one left to take prisoner. Captain Ji-hoon Seo felt sick as he watched the projections. He commanded one of Earth's deep strike vessels, the ships that would carry out operations like this if they were ever ordered. He had always hoped those orders would never come. The Devaki pirates? General Kwok asked rhetorically. Their entire criminal organization ceased to exist within 1 week. Not just the ships that attacked our people, every ship, every base, every member, every supporter, every person who had ever taken money from them. The hologram showed the true scope of that operation. The aliens had seen the rescue and the immediate battle. They had not seen the systematic hunting that followed. Human intelligence services had tracked down connections across dozens of star systems. Bank accounts were emptied, safe houses were found, criminal contacts were eliminated. The Kepler slavers, the general continued. We did not just rescue our people, we ended the slave trade in that entire region of space. Every slaver, every buyer, every transport route, every market, gone. Dr. Won-shik Lee, Earth's premier, expert on alien psychology, watched the council members with professional interest. Their body language showed the classic signs of prey animals realizing they were in the presence of an apex predator. Fear, submission, the desperate hope that staying very still might ensure survival. The Proxima invaders? General Kwok's voice was still calm, still grandfatherly. We did not just defeat their fleet. We eliminated their species as a military threat for all time. Their children will grow up farming instead of fighting because they no longer have the infrastructure to build warships. The purple-skinned creature with 6 legs made a sound like steam escaping from a damaged pipe. You destroyed an entire military tradition? Yes, the general replied simply. It was the efficient solution. The holographic display shifted again, showing Earth's actual military capabilities. The aliens had thought they were seeing humanity's full strength in those battle recordings. They were wrong. Stealth fleets that had been watching galactic civilization for decades became visible on the display. Hidden bases in empty star systems, weapon platforms disguised as asteroids, ships that could appear anywhere in the galaxy. Within hours, Chief Technology Officer Yong-ho Bayek had designed most of these systems. His innovations in stealth technology, weapon miniaturization, and faster-than-light travel had given humanity capabilities that other species could not imagine. The aliens were seeing only a small fraction of what Earth could deploy. This is our actual military strength. General Quack said conversationally. What you witnessed in those recordings was the equivalent of local police actions. The snake-likes. Alien was now coiled so tightly it looked like a ball of scales. Local police actions? Small problems handled by small units, the general confirmed. For larger problems, we have larger solutions. The display showed theoretical projections of what would happen if humanity decided that the Galactic Council itself was a threat. The mathematics were simple and terrifying. Every major alien civilization could be eliminated simultaneously, not in years or months. In days, Fleet Admiral Sujin Kang commanded the ships that would carry out such an operation. She had hoped the galaxy would never need to see these projections, but apparently, some lessons could only be learned the hard way. You asked why we avoid your conflicts, General Quack said. Now you know. We do not fight unless our survival depends on it. Because when we fight to ensure the threat never existed in the first place. The hologram faded again, leaving the chamber in ordinary light that somehow seemed dimmer than before. We withdraw from your conflicts, Ambassador Hyunwoo said, speaking for the first time since the general had begun. Not because we fear fighting, but because we love you enough to fear what we might do to you if you push us too far. Kethran's crystal body was now completely dark. When he spoke, his musical voice cracked like breaking glass. You are saying that human restraint is protecting us? Yes, Hyunwoo replied. You are alive because we choose to let you live. Your civilizations exist because we choose to let them exist. Your wars continue because we choose not to end them. The silence that followed was not the silence of an empty room. It was the silence of prey animals hiding from a predator, hoping that staying perfectly still might save their lives. Perhaps, now you understand, Hyunwoo said quietly, why humanity fears war. The Galactic Council chamber remained frozen in absolute silence. Ambassador Hyunwoo Lee stood in the center of the hall like a statue, his hands still clasped behind his back. Around him, 200 alien species tried to process what they had just learned about their human neighbors. The silence stretched for minutes. No one moved. No one spoke. Even the mechanical sounds of the station's life support systems seemed muted, as if the very air was afraid to make noise. Finally, Kethran, the crystal being who had started this confrontation, managed to speak. His body was now completely dark, like a piece of dead stone. His voice, when it came, was barely a whisper. You are saying that humanity could... He could not finish the sentence. The words were too terrible to speak aloud. Could what? Ambassador Hyunwoo asked quietly. His voice was still calm, still polite, but there was something underneath it now that made several aliens step backward. Could destroy every civilization in this chamber? Could reduce your homeworlds to lifeless rocks? Could hunt down every ship? Every colony? Every trace of your species across the galaxy? The pause stretched forever. Yes, Hyunwoo said simply. We could, and that is precisely why we do not fight your wars. Admiral Boram Kim watched the alien faces and saw something she had never expected to see in the Galactic Council. Fear, real bone-deep terror. These creatures had spent their entire lives thinking they were the powerful ones, the civilized ones, the ones in control. Now they knew the truth. Dr. Cha Choi, Earth's leading expert on interstellar relations, took careful notes on each species' reaction. This moment would change humanity's relationship with the galaxy forever. Every diplomatic contact from now on would be colored by what had happened here today. The snake-like alien that had been so aggressive at the start of the session was now coiled in the smallest possible space. When it spoke, its voice was completely different, small, frightened. We did not know. No, Hyunwoo agreed. You did not. You saw our restraint and mistook it for weakness. You saw our preference for peace and thought we were afraid. You were wrong. Cultural attaché Inho Park observed the slow transformation happening throughout the chamber. Body language that had been aggressive was now defensive. Creatures that had been standing tall were now trying to make themselves smaller. The entire power dynamic of the galaxy had shifted in a single conversation. The jellyfish creature floated, near the floor, its translucent body dim with shock. "Why did you not tell us before? Why let us think you were weak?" Ambassador Hyunwoo's expression softened slightly, showing something that might have been sadness. "Because weak neighbors are easier to live with than terrified ones. We hoped you would never need to know what we truly are." Dr. Young-Sik Han, Earth's military psychologist, recognized the symptoms he was seeing throughout the chamber. Shock, disbelief, the desperate mental scrambling that happens when someone's entire worldview collapses in minutes. These aliens had built their understanding of galactic politics on the assumption that humans were just another species. Slightly strange, perhaps, but fundamentally similar to everyone else. Now they knew that humans were something completely different. Something that had chosen to hide among them like wolves wearing sheep costumes. The tree-like being's leaves rustled with distress. "Your restraint? It was protecting us?" "Yes," Hyunwoo replied. "You are alive because we choose to let you live. Your civilizations exist because we choose to let them exist. Your wars continue because we choose not to end them permanently." General Hun Young Kwak stood again, his white hair and gentle face making him look like everyone's grandfather. But now the alien saw something else in his expression. The patient kindness of a predator that did not need to prove how dangerous it was. "We tried to fit in," the general said conversationally. "We joined your council. We followed your rules. We hoped we could be just another member species, contributing to galactic peace through normal diplomatic means." His smile was warm and completely terrifying. "But you insisted on seeing our restraint as cowardice. You demanded that we prove ourselves through violence. You wanted us to act like the predators we truly are." Captain Min-Soo Choi felt a chill run down his spine. He was human. He served in Earth's military. But even he had not fully understood the scope of what his species was capable of. The projections General Kwak had shown were not wild theories. They were actual contingency plans. "So now you know," the general continued. "Humanity does not fear war. We fear ourselves when we wage it. We fear the part of us that does not stop fighting until the enemy is extinct. We fear the strategic minds that plan not just for victory, but for the complete elimination of threats." Across multiple generations, the purple-skinned creature with 6 legs was shaking so hard its chair vibrated. What happens now?" Ambassador Hyunwoo looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of delegates who could no longer meet his gaze. "Now? Now you go home. You tell your governments what you have learned. You make whatever policy changes you think are appropriate." He paused, and when he spoke again, his voice carried a warmth that somehow made his words even more chilling. "And you remember that every day you wake up alive is a day that humanity has chosen not to end your existence." The session ended without formal votes, without resolutions, without the usual diplomatic procedures. The alien delegates simply left. They fled, actually, moving as quickly as their various forms of locomotion could carry them toward the exits. Within an hour, the great chamber was empty except for the human delegation. Admiral Sang-Wook Yu, Earth's defense chief, approached Ambassador Hyunwoo. "Do you think they understood?" Hyunwoo nodded slowly. "They understood. The question is what they will do with that understanding." Over the following weeks, the answer became clear. Human colony applications that had been delayed for months in bureaucratic review were suddenly approved within days. Trade agreements that had been stalled in committee were signed without revision. Border disputes that had dragged on for years were resolved in humanity's favor through quick negotiations. No one threatened human interests anymore. No one demanded that humans prove their courage. No one called them weak or cowardly. The galaxy had learned to be very, very polite to humanity. Prime Minister Da Yun-song welcomed Ambassador Hyunwoo back to Earth with a quiet ceremony, attended only by the highest levels of government. No media, No public announcements. Some truths were too dangerous to become public knowledge. "How do you feel about what happened?" the Prime Minister asked as they stood in her private office, looking out at the peaceful Earth sky. Yun-Woo was quiet for a long moment. "Relieved," he said finally, "and sad. We tried so hard to be the neighbors they wanted us to be. Now they know what we really are." "Regrets? About the revelation?" "No, it was necessary. But I regret that it was necessary." The Prime Minister nodded. "The galaxy is safer now. They understand the rules." "Yes," Yun-Woo agreed. "They understand that the most dangerous predator is the one that chooses not to hunt." Outside the window, children played in parks while their parents worked in offices and laboratories. Earth was peaceful, productive, civilized. The perfect picture of a species that had evolved beyond warfare. But now the galaxy knew the truth. Humanity had not evolved beyond warfare. They had simply become so good at it that they frightened themselves. The most terrifying predator was not the one that killed everything it met. It was the one that was strong enough to kill everything it met but chose not to. The one that hunted only when necessary, and then hunted to extinction. The galaxy had called humans war-fearing. They were right, but not in the way they had thought. Humans did fear war. They feared it because they were too good at it. They feared it because when they fought, they did not know how to stop until the enemy was gone forever. And now finally the galaxy feared it too. In the months that followed, interstellar politics became remarkably peaceful. Disputes were settled through negotiation. Conflicts were resolved through compromise. Military buildups were reduced across multiple sectors. It was not that species had suddenly become more civilized. It was that they had all simultaneously realized the same terrible truth. There was a predator among them that had been hiding its nature out of kindness, and that predator had just shown them exactly why it had been hiding. The galaxy had learned the most important lesson in survival. Do not threaten the beings who are capable of ending your existence, especially when those beings are trying very hard to be nice to you. Humanity had not wanted to be feared. They had wanted to be friends, neighbors, partners in building a better galaxy. But if fear was what it took to keep the peace, then fear would have to do. After all, the most successful predators were the ones that never had to hunt at all.